Over the last few years, I've listened to service providers use the phrase, they need this, to justify why people should invest in their service, including those in the overseas market. As they continue, these same service providers express dismay when seeing that the so-called need does not translate into ongoing sales domestically and certainly not internationally. As in one case in which the person spoke of an overseas market that I knew very well, having lived and worked in that country, I realized that the they need it approach was based on an assumption rather than firsthand knowledge, spending a significant amount of time in that country, or on any primary or secondary research. Understandably so, traveling has been more challenging due to the global health pandemic, or for many, merely due to limited financial resources. So, what is a service provider to do? Welcome to another episode of Trade on Tuesdays at 2. I'm Dr. Sarita Jackson, President and CEO of the Global Research Institute of International Trade. Well, to those service providers that think that just because they think that someone needs their service, it will translate into sales, I like to share that even in today's time, it is important to research the market for existing trends and forecasts. Additional things, of which there are many, that I would like to share regarding at least what your preliminary research should look like will be shared here. So here are my 2 tips for today. Number 1, understand the regulations for foreign service providers in that market. Just because the population may truly need that service, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will have access to that market because of domestic rules and regulations. However, it's also important to understand whether that country is a member of the World Trade Organization and has signed bilateral, regional, cross-regional trade agreements that may give you that preferential access to that market as a service provider. Tip number 2, comprehend how the services should be delivered in that market. Just because the service is delivered and consumed one way in a country, for example, here in the United States, does not automatically mean that it will work the same way in another country. And this is a very important tip shared by one of the trusted advisors in my network in the case study in my book, International Trade and Services, which was published earlier this year. So those are my 2 tips for today. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Trade on Tuesdays at 2. I'm Dr. Sarita Jackson, President and CEO of the Global Research Institute of International Trade.